I don't know. Somebody messing with something.
Somebody breaking into somebody's car or some shit.
Could be. Does
Uh,
happen over here.
okay, so the stream link will be. Then we make sure that I'm live. Excellent quality. Cool. Yeah, I'm live. Alrighty. Now, what was I doing? PyCharm, right? Yeah, PyCharm.
There you are. Oh, you're too close to the camera.
Because you have a fucking 4K monitor. I'm trying to see everything you're doing.
Oh, my bad.
Like, I'm looking at 4K on a theater mode on a 1080p screen. Everything is tiny and I'm blind.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure to switch it.
It's cool.
We're gonna create another video.
Just make sure, what do you call it? When you go to downscaling, make sure you downscale to either 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720. It'll make everything more legible for me.
All right.
Alright, download community edition. Alright, got it. Let's go do that. So, download the community edition right here. Okay. Save. Alright, let's do that. Disable the path length limit. Alright. Okay. Command prompt. Am I gonna need to zoom in for this?
Which part?
Opening the command prompt.
Oh, did Python finish installing?
Yeah.
All right, so go to the command prompt. I can kind of guide you. Well,
Okay.
you got the command prompt open, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, type Python.
Okay. Enter.
Remember, there's a little delay for me, but yeah, go ahead, press enter.
Okay. Yeah, Python 3.9.5.
There you go.
Okay.
So now, you can quit by running the quit function. So type quit with open and close parentheses, no spaces.
Capital Q or just
No, 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 no.
okay. Quit.
You no capitals, none of that. Keep going.
Okay.
No, 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 no.
I did it already. You'll see. It's a little delayed for you.
No, you did it wrong. You
Oh, I
wrote
did it
quit
wrong.
wrong. It's quit, then open close parentheses, not quit
Oh,
inside.
okay. Okay. I see. Ah, okay, cool.
So anytime you see something with that kind of format, a word plus open and close parentheses, that's a function.
Okay.
Too loud? My voice?
Well, these are good headphones, so I don't need you to be that loud.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. I'll adjust the volume as I need it. You're not too loud. I just need to adjust the volume. That's all. Okay, that should be good. All right. Is there
So
anything
the
else in the video
next
besides
thing,
doing the pie charm?
what you're gonna do is open them idle. So hit your super key,
My
your
what?
Windows key,
Oh, okay.
Windows key,
Super key. I'm like, wait, what's
or
that?
type here to search, whichever. Type in IDLE. Or actually, you have it right there, recently added. You
Okay.
see it? Yeah, open that up for me.
All right, it's here.
All right, so it looks pretty good on your screen, so it doesn't look like you need to zoom in, unlike me. So here it looks similar to what you just did, right?
I should install
But rather
PyCharm,
than do
right?
this, uh, yeah, you can get that started in the meantime.
Okay,
So go ahead and start that.
got you. Notice I'm in the kitchen, sir. No distractions. Just study. Next, I don't need to create a
All right,
desktop
so
shortcut.
don't. So you wanna click? Nope.
I didn't do nothing yet. That's
Oh,
why I
you hovered
paused.
over it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So first, you wanna add launchers directory to the path. Hit
Okay.
that box,
Okay. Cool.
and then go to 64-bit launcher.
Okay.
Actually click check on everything.
Okay. What is create associations.py?
Meaning basically anytime you have a Python file in your system,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it'll associate itself with the PyCharm IDE as opposed to something else.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
So if you double click a Python file,
Mm-hmm.
which ends in .py,
Mm-hmm.
it's automatically going to open PyCharm.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's cool. All right. I
So
guess
hit
we wait
next.
next. Okay. And then I'll install.
Yep. It's going to tell you to restart. You can do that later.
Yeah, I'm not gonna restart now. I'm already up and running.
Yeah. I was able to do it because it was a VM in my case, so I could do it. But
Yeah, I'll mess with that stuff later on down the line. We'll do VM shit later. I want to manually reboot later. Finish. Okay, so now idle is open. I still have command prompt open.
all right, you can close command prompt.
Okay, so we can close the command prompt.
All right. So what you're gonna do is go to File,
Okay, file.
New File.
New file.
All right, and what you are going to type is the introductory piece of code that you have to write in every programming language. You're gonna write a hello world program.
Okay.
So let's get started with that. So what you want to type is print.
Okay.
open parenthesis, just one,
Okay.
and then you want to put a quotation mark,
Okay.
and then type "Hello World" in however way you want to.
Okay.
And then you want to close this string. You want to close it by putting exactly, and then close that parenthesis.
Okay.
Now, what you want to hit is F5, and watch what happens in the shell behind you.
Source must be
It's gonna
saved. Okay
save.
to save.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Uh, I guess what should I
Now,
make
what you
the
want to
file
do
name?
is first, where do you want to save it?
Well, it looks like it's going into local programs, Python and Python 39.
So you can save this in your documents for now. And another time we'll start doing like,
Okay. In documents.
excuse me, how to organize your code.
All right.
And then what you're gonna type is hello world dot p hello world. It'll automatically save as a .py file.
Okay. And save. Right.
It's saved.
Ooh. Okay. Nice.
And then there you go. Now the program ran
Hello world. Interesting.
just like that. So how you feel about that?
That's cool.
Simple, right?
Simple, but yeah, it's very interesting. Shall I open
So
the book
now
on the
this is
right side?
exactly. This is
Okay.
exactly where you want to start using the book.
Okay, so let me close this. So put down OBS, and then we'll close this, and then open Reader. We'll do that, and then File. Yes, make that my default application. Continue. Why are you doing it to me like this? So weird. Apply. Okay. Alright. So file. So I made a books for study folder at the bottom. Desktop. Books for study. Open. And alright, now that I have that open, we can open idle on the next side, and then I may not need the hello world thing. And let me just make sure that I'm not in the way of anything. Okay, cool. Alright, what's next?
You minimize that stuff. You minimize that there.
This? On the
No,
right?
minimize the Python shell,
Okay.
which is idle. Minimize.
Okay.
Exactly. And then you want to go to view. Go to view.
View. Okay.
Top. And then go to page display.
Okay.
And then hit two-page view.
Alright.
All right. And then now click in some gray space. And then use your right arrow key.
Ah. Okay. Cool.
All right. So you want to the first stuff is pretty much reading. I'm gonna grab the hard copy of the book.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at the same thing. Okay. So yeah, you want to skip. You want to go to chapter 1.
Okay. many chapters? 18 chapters. Alrighty.
So chapter one, I believe, begins on, well, obviously a chapter, so that's page one. Skip that. I mean, if you want to read that, you can,
Alright.
but you skip that stuff.
Section 1?
Keep, exactly. Yep, and then keep going from there.
Do you want me to read this little thing too?
No, you don't have to read that.
Okay.
It's basically tell you what you're going to do.
Alright, so an introduction to Python programming. So is this where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm just reading all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna read out loud.
No, go ahead. It's all good.
The introduction to Python programming. The Python programming language was developed in 1990s by Guido van Rossum of the Netherlands. It was intended to be simple, intuitive language that is as powerful as traditional languages. And it succeeded at that. Guido named the language Python because he was a big fan of Monty Python's Flying Circus, and he continues to be involved in the development of Python. In fact, some developers in the Python community refer to him as the benevolent dictator for life, or BDFL. Okay. Why Python works so well as your first programming language. Figure 1.1 summarizes the case for learning Python as your first programming language. Here you can see a short excerpt from Java program and an excerpt from Python program that does the same thing. This shows how much closer to plain English Python is and how much simpler the syntax for Python is. In fact, you'll often be able to write a Python program with far less code than the same program would take in C++, Java. What's this one with the hashtag C what? What is that one called? Is that just C?
Where?
Next to Java, right where it says. I'll read the sentence.
That's C sharp.
C sharp. Okay.
That's C sharp.
Sharp. Okay.
You use that in Windows.
Okay. Cool. Or other traditional programming languages, and yet you can learn most of the concepts and skills that you need for those languages when you learn Python, without getting slowed down by trivial coding details. Beyond that, Python supports a wide range of applications. It is used by many successful companies, and it is open source, which means that its source code is available to the entire Python community. In short, Python is a powerful programming language that lets you develop programs in less time and with less code than other programming languages. That's why it's a great language for learning how to program. But it's also a great language if you already know how to use another language or two. Okay, in this figure, the Python timeline shows that Python 2 became available in the year 2000. This was replaced by Python 3 in 2008. However, Python 3 isn't backward compatible. That means that Python 3 can't run most programs written for Python 2. Conversely, Python 2 isn't forward compatible. That means it can't run most programs written for Python 3. Make sense? Okay. In this book, you'll learn how to write programs for Python 3, and you'll learn how to use Python 3 to run those programs as a result. Compatibility won't be a problem. That's a great way to learn Python. Okay, cool. So, for general purpose languages, sorry, I don't know why I read it that way. For general purpose programming languages: C++, Java, C#, and Python. So, let me ask you a question then. These are the 4 general purpose programming languages according to this book. So, if I show a liking into Python, should I start learning these other languages as well?
You got to learn how to program first before you get to those.
Of course. But I'm saying, based on what it says right there in the top left corner, if I start to enjoy this and I learn it and I learn to code with Python, should I start learning those other languages as well? Or if I get in
If
that
you
way,
don't want
is
to be,
there something that you suggest I learn?
no, it's at by the time you you know if you get to the point with Python where you can start making projects and things like that, the question you're asking right now is a question you'll be able to figure out by that point in time.
Okay. All right.
Because let's say you utilize Python and you get a job and they just need you to know how to program. They need you to learn how to use Java, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll be tasked, since you know how to code, you should be able to learn Java in like a week or two, maybe. I don't know,
Okay.
depending on how fast your speed in which you learn comes into account by the time you get there.
Okay.
Um, so you could either learn those language out of your own volition, or you can a job may require you to use one of those technologies. If you encounter C#, you're most likely going to be in a Windows environment.
Okay.
But when it comes to plus plus and Java, Java is like I think the most used programming language in the world still.
Mm-hmm.
So many legacy applications are still running in Java.
Okay.
C++ all over the place is a very it's a tough language in my opinion.
I've
But
heard.
if you get that, then you're good at that point. Um, so yeah, you that question is something you have to figure out by the time. Because for all I know, after Python, you may not you may let's say you focus on full stack web development, mess with JavaScript. You
Mm-hmm.
never know what you're gonna see. So yeah, but
Okay.
when they say general purpose, you can use them. You can use these programming languages for almost all things.
Okay.
C++ you can use for systems programming. You can do some web stuff. You can do web stuff with it. Java you can do web stuff with it. Sharp you can do web stuff with it. Python you could definitely do web stuff. So you
Okay.
can go different directions with these general purpose programming.
All right. Makes sense.
So now, really observe, really take a look at that Java code comparing to that's being compared to the Python code.
All right. Cool. I'm gonna grab something to drink real quick, and then I'm gonna keep reading.
Go ahead, go ahead.
It's a good thing I'm in the kitchen. Oh my ass! That chair. My ass. Not mixing well. All right. Let's get back to it. So the Python timeline in 2000, October, in the year 2000, Python 2 was released. Okay. In 2008, Python, the release of Python 3, the redesign of Python that isn't backward compatible. In 2010, 2.7 was released, a release of Python 2 that was with support until 2020. In 2015, 3.5, the latest release at this writing. Okay, syntax differences between Python and Java. Some Java code, okay. Months.
You're not supposed to know what you're reading, so don't try too hard.
And so this Python starts with def instead of private. And it looks like less words. Like it doesn't have that int space I equals 1 semicolon I, like it doesn't have all of that like I plus plus. This seems to do the same thing without that. So why Python is a great first language? Python has a simple syntax that is easier to read and use than most other languages. Python has most of the features of traditional programming languages. As a result, you can use Python to learn the concepts and skills that apply to those languages too. Python supports the development of a wide range of programs, including games, web applications, systems administration. Okay. Python is used by many successful companies including Google, IBM, Disney, EA Games. As a result, knowing Python is a valuable skill. Python is open source and there are many advantages to being open source. Okay. 3 types of Python applications. An application or app is computer software that performs a task or related to a set of tasks. However, applications can also be referred to as programs, even though one application may actually consist of many related programs. In practice, most people use these terms interchangeably. In this book, we will use the term program to refer to the short applications that it presents. In any event, Figure 1-2 shows 3 types of applications that you can create with Python. The first type is a console application. Okay. This is the type of application you enter commands and the command prompt in the console that's available in your operating system. So, okay. That was loud. Okay. Okay. In this case, the console application is being run on a Windows system. As a result, it uses the command prompt window that's available from Windows. On a Mac OS system, the console application runs the terminal window. I knew this already. Okay. Because the console applications are the easiest type of application to develop, you'll work with console application in the first 3 sections of the book. The second type of Python application is a GUI application. That's an application that uses a graphical user interface. I already knew that that's what that meant. In this figure, you'll see the GUI, or the GUI, as some people refer to it. Application performs the same tasks as the console application. In other words, it gets the same input from the user, performs the same calculation, and displays the same result. However, the GUI application is more user-friendly and intuitive. You'll learn how to develop this type of application in the last section of the book. Okay. The third type of application shown in this figure is a web application. Unlike the desktop application, which runs directly on your computer, a web application can be called by a web browser that's running on a computer or a mobile device, and can use a server to process or store data. In this figure, the web application performs the same task as the console and the GUI applications. Although this book doesn't show how to develop web applications, you should know that Python frameworks are available to help you develop that type of application with Python. You should also know that you can use Python as a scripting language to work with other software applications or to develop system administration programs that perform tasks like automatically backing up a server or rotating log files. Because programs like this usually run in the background, they don't always have a user interface. When you finish this book, though, you will have the skills you need to write this type of program. Okay, next page. So the console application, GUI application, and the web app. This is the same thing. This was the string of code they showed earlier.
Yeah.
Cool. A console application is a desktop application that uses console to interact with the user. The GUI application is an application that uses graphical user interface to interact with the user. A web application typically gets requests from a web browser and processes them on a web server and returns in response to the web browser. Alright, so I guess you can say that I've used a web application, but not necessarily to code. But the similar thing would be like when I'm trying to figure out taxes for customer, I pull up a tax calculator and it automatically does that for me. That kind of thing, right?
On the internet.
Yeah, on the internet.
Yeah, that's 100% a web application.
Yeah, that's something I use almost all the time. Like when I'm trying to figure out like the full price of something, I'll go and it'll automatically calculate the 8.875% of ridiculous tax we have.
Exactly. Let's see now. If you get through this book, if you consistent with this book, you'll be able to create a tax calculator that is as a desktop application to only do that one function, because that's the taxes we use for the customers when we're because Astia doesn't show tax anymore for some reason when it's in Resolve.
That'll be neat to have. And it never showed our tax anyways. It always showed Ohio tax. So that would be actually really neat to have on my desktop, because then I can just tell the customer exactly what the price is going to be.
Exactly. So, as you go through this book, you can make that. Well, once you get, because um, I believe a GUI application that's towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, by that point, you know, comfortable with everything, you should be able to actually create that.
Mhm.
You should be able to create that calculator that does that one thing because we don't care about Ohio tax anyway.
Of course not. Fuck that shit. All right. So the source code for the console application. To show you what Python program looks like, Figure 1-3 shows the source code from the console application. Okay. This application gets three values from the user: a monthly investment amount, a yearly interest rate, and the number of years. Then the program takes these entries and calculates the future value of the monthly investments with the interest calculated for each month. I can see that, okay. For now, just note that the code begins with a line that starts with hash and a bang. Codes. I'm trying to. I'm not sure. I don't see the hash on over there.
Hmm.
I'm looking to see if I see the hash, and when that bang, because it's a little bit small for me, I would have to zoom it in just a little bit more. Is that a, what do you call it? Is
Where
that
you read that,
the sec
where it says
the
for now, just note that the code begins with a line.
with the hash, the
Yeah,
code
with
it
the hash.
starts with the hash
That's basically
and
that's
a
control three.
bang.
That's the exclamation point
That's
control one.
that. Okay, that's an exclamation point. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. But then I was
Hmm.
also looking at the command prompt on the left to see if I saw it inside the code, but I don't see it.
No, because you're not going to see that because that you're th- what they're talking about when they say source code, that's the code that you write in the editor.
Oh, in the Python. Okay. Okay. Cool.
When you're creating a Python file, that's what you would do.
So it can start
Like you
with
would
a
write that.
hash or a bang, or does it start with both?
It's both. It's similar to like when you're running a script on Linux. You know, you put something like that, and then user bin bash things like that. The path to it.
Okay.
Now, this book shows you like I don't know. It makes you do that, but you don't actually have to because as we demonstrated, when you created that hello world file, you didn't even write that. All you just wrote was the code you wanted to write, which was print hello world, and then it ran.
Yeah.
So I guess just for,
Just for learning
the basics,
purposes.
the foundation, you want to write that.
Oh,
Yeah. But
okay.
you'll see as you go to the next pages.
All right. Cool. I just had that question. All right. So this line is. Let me write that down so that I remember. So just for the purposes of learning, in my book, I'm gonna put code starts with, and then I put that there.
Hmm.
So this line is commonly called the Shebang Line. It is ignored by Windows, but it is used by Unix-like operating systems, including Mac OS X, to specify the interpreter for the program. In this case, the shebang specifies that the program should be run using Python 3. As a result, she can use this shebang line for all programs in this book. In the next chapter, you'll start learning how to write the code in the program. Then by the time you complete chapter 3, you'll know how most of the code in the program works. You'll be able to write comparable programs of your own. Okay, cool. So this is what they were talking about. I see it. The hash, the bang, /user, /bin, /env. So the environment, so user bin environment is Python 3. So discussion. This application gets 3 values from the user: the monthly investment amount, the yearly interest rate, and the number of years. Then it calculates and displays the future value of the investment it will grow to. The first line in this program is called the Shebang Line, or shebang. It specifies the interpreter should be used. Okay, cool. So let me just look at this line for a second. Welcome to the future of. Hey, we did that one. The print. Print. Welcome to the future. Value calculator print. Okay. I'm assuming I'm gonna learn that line.
Which one?
This is choice equals y, and then while choice dot lower, and then parentheses equals y.
So when you see choice equals y, what do you think? What do you think that is?
Whenever something.
What is choice?
Maybe the investment they're trying to get.
The investment?
Well, that's what it's talking about here in the thing, in the example.
Nah. So choice equals y. It's a variable.
Oh, okay.
Choice is holding the data or the character y.
Okay.
So while choice dot lower is equal to lowercase y, meaning while that is true, dot lower, that function,
Yeah.
turns whatever it's applied to a lowercase character. So if y was capital, like if you type in the capital Y, then what's going to happen here? It's not going to run the rest of the code.
Okay. I only
Yeah, it doesn't
asked
look like it'll
because
run
I've
the rest of the code.
seen the similar stuff. I told you I've looked at code before. I've never done it on my own, but what I've looked at was Lua, so I've seen something similar. So this is the only reason I like it,
All
even
programming
bothered to
languages
say
have the same all programming languages have the same things. Variables, functions, control statements, things like that.
anything.
Those control statements are like if else or while. Like this is a while is a loop.
Yeah,
So
I've seen a lot of if else on the
yeah,
Luas.
all programming languages have that. They just do it in their own little different way, sometimes with a little different syntax.
Okay.
So yeah, you can continue.
All right. So the code in the program, like the one in the last figure, is referred to as Python source code. To create that field, To create the file that contains this source code, the programmer uses a text editor or integrated development environment, IDE, which you'll learn about in a moment. However, before the Python source code can be run or executed on the computer, the code must be translated into code that the computer can understand, as shown in figure 1-4. Okay. Here you can see the files that contain the source code have the .py extension. Then the Python interpreter is used to translate or compile the source code into bytecode. This bytecode can be run by any computer that has the Python virtual machine installed on it. This virtual machine translates the bytecode so it can be run by the operating system of the computer. Since the Python virtual machine is part of the Python interpreter, it is available on all platforms that support Python. In fact, that's why Python is said to be platform independent. In other words, it is the virtual machine that makes it possible for Python to run a wide variety of operating systems. Okay. Although this compilation process is complicated, it's done automatically with the push of a single button when you're using an IDE to develop your Python programs, as shown in later in this chapter. For now, you'll need to take away from this figure that is, the Python source code is compiled into the bytecode that runs by the computer's operating system. Okay. Let's see, figure 1-4. So code editor, source code, Python interpreter, bytecode, virtual machine to operating system. Okay. Python bytecode can be run on the operating. And if the program imports modules, the Python interpreter saves the compiled bytecode for those modules in the file that have .pyc or pyo extensions. This import optimization that can improve the startup time for a program. Why does that improve the startup time for a program? Alright, how disk storage and main memory work together. Now that you know how to program, now that you know how a program is compiled and run, it's worth taking a minute to go over how the main memory of a computer and the disk storage of a computer work together as an application runs. The conceptual background can help you understand what needs to be done when you develop a program that works with data in disk storage. In addition, figure 1.5 presents the terms that you need to be familiar with. To start, you should know that a computer consists of CPU, okay, and main memory, which is often referred to as RAM, random access. Okay. When application runs, its bytecode is stored in the memory, and its instructions are executed by the CPU. I already knew this. Cool. In addition, the data that the application is currently using is stored in the main memory. This type of storage is temporary, however, So the data is lost when the application ends. To store the data of an application, disk storage is commonly used. This type of storage remains after an application ends, so it's called persistent data storage. In Chapter 7, you'll learn how to work with persistent data that's stored in a file. Then in Chapter 17, you'll learn how to work with persistent data that's stored in a database. In general, two types of software are stored on disk. Systems software consists of programs that control the operation of the system. That includes the operating system for the computer, like Windows for a PC or OS X for a Mac. In contrast, application software consists of applications that are available on the system. That includes applications such as web browsers, word processors, spreadsheets. Okay. When the computer starts, it loads the operating system from the disk storage into main memory. Then, when you start the application, the operating system loads the application from disk storage into main memory and runs the application. If the application requires persistent data while it is running, it reads from the disk storage into the main memory and then processes it. If the application updates the data or creates new data, it writes the data from the memory back to disk storage. The storage capacity for the main memory and disk storage is measured in bytes. For instance, main memory used to be measured is megabyte, which millions of bytes, but usually measured in gigabytes, which is billions of bytes. For the record, a byte consists of 8 binary digits or bits, and each byte is roughly equivalent to one character of data like A or B. If you're comfortable with these concepts and terms, you're ready to learn how to use the IDE to create, test, and debug Python programs as shown in the next few figures. Otherwise, it is worth taking a few minutes to review the terms in this figure because they're terms that every programmer should know. Okay? And this is kind of stuff I already know. Alright. How to use idle to develop programs. Although you can use a text editor to develop Python programs, most
Explain
programmers.
to me, explain to me how to disk mark.
Yeah.
Explain to me that part right there, because that was very important. Computer science aspect of the relationship between RAM and disk storage. Can you explain to me, kind of in your own words, how that works?
In my own words, how that works. So, like when you start anything up, it pulls from the disk storage and puts it into the main memory. If it's something that consistently needs to be open, it pulls from the disk storage. Um,
The data.
the data, yeah.
So when you're using like when you playing when you're playing let's say Call of Duty,
Mm-hmm.
where's that like where what is it using to run?
RAM is going to use the RAM to run.
Cool. And then will you save your stuff
When you
or when it
save,
needs
it's
to
going to
access your
save
stuff?
onto the disk storage. So
Cool.
for
Cool.
something like persistent, like your operating system that is always running, is going to run off of, like it's going to go onto the main memory, but it's running off of the data on your disk storage, which is why having an SSD versus having a spinning drive is much better, because
Right.
that's where it's running off of. Yes, it is running on your RAM, but it's running from the hard drive.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Relation. Great. Look past that part.
Yeah, no, of course. I tell people that all the time. Like, it's just your RAM. So a lot of people or a lot of our customers, you already know, they confuse like RAM for like, oh man, if I have more RAM, the computer is going to be faster. No,
Yeah,
the computer is already fast because you have the processor. That's what's making it fast. The RAM is just how much of that memory you can store onto the computer at once, depending on what you're doing. Um,
facts.
yeah, you know, people think, oh, my stream's gonna be better because I have more RAM. No, you need a stronger processor.
Nope.
um, and better internet. Anyways, how to use idle to develop programs. Although you can use the text editor to develop Python programs, most programmers use an integrated development environment (IDE) because an IDE usually helps you get more done in less time. One IDE that's popular for Python programming is PyCharm. Cool, we downloaded that, which is free, open source IDE that runs most operating systems. Another is Eclipse, which is general purpose IDE that has a plugin called PyDev for Python development.
Eclipse is most popular with Java developers.
Okay, I was just gonna ask. However, for this book, we recommend using an IDE called named idle. This IDE is included with the Python distributions for Windows and Mac OS X and can be easily installed on Linux. Besides that, it's easy to use. If that's not enough, the name of this IDE is the same as the last name of Eric Idle, a sly reference to one of the founding members of Monty Python comedy group. Interesting tidbit. Uh, how to use interactive shell. Figure 1.6 shows you how to use Idle's interactive shell. This shell makes it easy to enter and test Python statements without writing full programs. This is another feature that makes Python work so well as a first programming language. When you start the shell, it displays some version and copyright information followed by its prompt. Okay. At this prompt, you can type any Python code that you want to run. Then you press enter and Python runs the code. Displays the results if there are any and displays another prompt. In this figure, the first prompt executes print function that prints hello out there to the console. This displays characters coded within quotation marks immediately after the prompt. And then the next three prompts evaluate the arithmetic expressions and display the result of each expression immediately after the prompt. The fifth prompt executes another print function. However, this print function doesn't include quotation marks around the characters. Those quotation marks are required. As a result, the shell displays an error message for a syntax error that says invalid syntax. The next two prompts show what happens when you set a variable named x equal to 5 and then add 10 to the variable named x. The result is 15. The last statement attempts to add 15 to x. This displays a name error message that says name x is not defined. That's because variable names are case sensitive. So x and x refer to two different variables. Okay, that makes sense. The variable named x has been defined earlier in this section, but the variable named x has not been defined yet in this section. This interactive session shows how Python Shell can help you build your coding skills. That's why this book encourages you to use it whenever you need to experiment with Python code. In fact, one of the exercises at the end of this chapter walks you through the first use of this shell. Incidentally, when you see a notation like file close, it means to pull down file menu and select close command. Similarly, run Python shell means to pull down the run menu and select Python shell command. You'll see this notation throughout the book. Okay. Now I can look at his error. So 8 plus 5 is 13. 10 divided by 3 is 3.3. 8 plus 2 times 3 is 30. Okay. Print hello out there. Invalid syntax. Why did he get the syntax error there?
At print out hello there.
Yeah.
Look closely.
Oh, no quotations.
There you go.
Okay. Alright, and then here he like probably held shift before he pressed X. Okay. Alright, so how to open and close and start the interactive shell. Okay. How to work with source files. Figure 1.7 shows idle's editor window. In general, this editor works like a simple word processor. So to edit the source code for a program, you can use many of the same techniques that you use with your word processor. On a Windows system, for example, you can use Control X or Control C to cut or copy some of the selected characters, and Control V to paste them in a new location, Control Z to undo the last thing you made. You can use Control Delete or Control Backspace to delete an entire word at a time. And you can right click on the selection to get a shortcut menu with commands that are appropriate for the selected text. You can also use the drop down menus to find commands that you may want to use. For instance, you can use commands in the file menu to create, open, save, and close source files. You can also use window menu to switch between open files, and you can edit and format menus to edit and format a selection. If you want to make a copy of a source file that you're working on, you can use the save as command. This command is useful if you want to experiment with a variation of the same program. It's useful to if you want to start a new program for an existing program. Then you can delete the parts of the program that you don't want and keep the parts that you do want and get your program off to a fast start. Okay, makes sense? Okay, so this is just on the left is the same code that they used earlier. The same investment stuff. To compile and run a Python program when you're using idle, you can just press the F5 key. Okay. Then Python compiles the source code into bytecode and runs it. It's that simple. So is that pressing F5 before I do something or after I do something?
After you write the code and you think everything's okay, that's when you write F5 to run it.
Ah, okay, so. Alright. Cool. This is summarized in figure 1.8. You can compare that to the procedure that is in 1.4, which is done automatically by idle. If you're compiling or running program that works with the console, idle uses the interactive shell as the console. This makes it easy to test the program and switch between shell and editor as you do that. This assumes that the source code doesn't have any errors. However, it's common for source code to have errors. In that case, you need to fix the errors before Python can compile and run the program. The next figure shows you how to do that. Incidentally, if you're developing a professional program that uses the console, you have to do final testing by using a real console of the system. However, you don't need to do that when you're learning Python with idle. Instead, you can use the idle shell as the console for all your programs. That's cool. So, F5 or select run module. If idle displays a dialog box that indicates you must save the first program, click OK to save it, and then program doesn't have any errors. Idle runs the program in the interactive shell. Okay, so I see the program in the back, and then he runs the program and it gives you the little shell thing in the front.
Exactly, it did. You could interact with it.
Okay. How to fix syntax and runtime errors. Runtime errors. I've read that shit a lot. After you write a code for a program, you need to test the program. When you do that, your goal is to find all the errors or bugs in the program. Whenever you find a bug, you need to debug it by fixing it. Then you need to test the program again. Fix the next bug that's found and continue this process until you finish debugging the entire program. When you're ready to test the program and you try to compile and run it, two types of errors are likely to be detected. The first type is a syntax error. These are errors that occur because the Python coding rules have been violated. As a result, the program can't be compiled. The first example, shown in figure 1-9, shows the dialog box that is displayed when the syntax error is detected. In addition, let's see that real quick. Yeah, it's years. It's messed up. I see it. In addition to the point at which the error was detected is highlighted in the source code. Keep in mind, though, that the error may not be exactly at that point. In fact, it is likely that in the previous statement. In this example, the error occurs because the statement before the highlighted statement should end with another right parentheses. Oh, I see, because the monthly one has a second parentheses at the top. So because the bottom one only has one, that's why it messed up. Okay. The other types of errors is a runtime error. This type occurs after all the code has compiled cleanly and the program is being executed. Then an error is displayed that helps you identify the cause of the error. This type of error is also known as an exception. When an exception occurs, the program ends or crashes unless the exceptions are handled by the program. In Chapter 8, you'll learn how to handle exceptions that occur so your programs won't crash. However, you can often prevent exceptions from occurring in the first place by fixing the code that caused the exception. The second example in this figure shows the message that's displayed for an exception. Here, the last line of the message says that name error has occurred because year is not defined. If you look at the first example, you can see that this variable is coded as years, not year, which is why the exception occurred. To fix this, just add the s to year. Although this may not make sense to you right now, it will soon as you start developing programs of your own. That makes sense actually, because I see that up here in the proper code it says years and not year.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing at the dialog box at the top. I can see that that one was caused because the top part has two right parentheses and the bottom has only one. Okay. When you fix the error for a program, you'll note that idle catches just one error each time. As a result, you need to correct an error, try to run the program again, fix the next error, and continue until all of the syntax errors have been fixed. After that, you need to do the same for the runtime errors. Okay. The syntax error violates one of the rules of Python coding, so the source can't be compiled. program. Idle detects one syntax error at a time. For each error, a dialog box is displayed at the point where the error was detected and highlighted. Then you close the dialog box, fix the error, and try again. When all of the errors have been fixed, the program will run, but here again, only one runtime error is detected at a time. So you have to fix the error, run the program, and keep going until all the errors have been debugged, okay? So, perspective. Now that you finished this chapter, you should understand the concepts and terms that have been presented to you. Okay. You should also be familiar with the way idle works. At this point, you're ready to start learning how to program, and that's why you're going to do and that's what you're going to do in the next chapter. Okay. Yeah, I'll just I'm just looking at the words to make sure that I understand. So shebang line is just the first line. Compile is like to run to the program, right? That's how they used it here. Interpreter. I forget how they used that word.
The interpreter is the program you just write some commands and let it execute.
Oh, okay. So summary. Python's a powerful language. Okay, and then it wants me to do this exercise.
Yep. So open up the shell or the interpreter, whichever way you want to call it.
The hello world one or this one? There we go.
Yep, that one.
Let me just
And follow the commands.
start idle. Should display a window for interactive shell. Enter the following print function. Arithmetic ticket impression. Okay, so does there need to be a space there? No. Okay.
Where?
After
No,
print.
no space.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I
you know
realized
what?
I
I'm
took
not
it
gonna
out.
say. Yeah, but I'm not gonna say nothing. I want you to try to see, because learning from the mistakes is actually very valuable too.
Okay. That looks like a space. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. 42. There's no space with the minus though. Interesting. Wonder why.
That's not significant. You could put a space.
Okay.
Try it out.
Okay. I don't know why they present it that way in the book then. Alright, so it's 3 times 4. Okay, so I can do it without the spaces too. 12 divided by 3. Cool. 1 divided by 3. Okay. 3 times 4 plus 30 is 12 plus 30 is 42, yep. And then 3 times parentheses 4 plus 10, and that's 4 plus 30, so it's 34 times 4 in that case, 102, okay. Note that the print function prints a blank line if you don't code anything between the parentheses, okay? 2, the star is used for multiplication in an arithmetic expression, okay? 3, the spaces before and after the arithmetic operations aren't required. Yeah, I tested that. And 4, parentheses are used just as in algebraic expressions. If you make entry errors, the shell should display appropriate error messages. Okay. Try entering these statements and see how they work. Alright. Okay. Do I need to be putting these inside the print? Maybe. Let me try. R1 equals 30. Okay. So variable 2 equals 25. Variable 1 plus 10. Okay, so without the print, it's set the variable as 30. Okay. Then variable 1 to get 30, and then variable 1 plus variable 2, 55. Okay. And that's going to give me the same kind of error because I didn't define that earlier. Makes sense. So I saw that here when I thought about using print. Okay. That makes a decent amount of sense. And that's the end of the first chapter, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a second exercise here. Run the console version of the future value program. Start idle and open future underscore value.py. Do I have that? Do I have the things it wants me to run here?
Now, if you go into the Discord in the Python language channel, I uploaded a zip file called Python all files. These are the files that go along with it.
Okay. Okay. Where you want me to save it in documents?
Cause you can put it in documents if you want.
Okay. And just extract that.
Yeah, it's there, it's there, it's there.
Okay. I got it.
So now what you want to do, go back to idle. Go to file. Open. And then look at the book. It'll tell you which exercise you need to open.
Is it going?
Good. Exercise 1-2.
You're in exercise 1-2.
Future value errors. Okay. Now I have that open. So I'll press F5 to compile and run the program, then enter values for month. Okay. So back here, invalid syntax. Okay, so it wants me to fix the code. So for here I put a right parentheses, that should fix that, and then source must be saved. Okay. Aha, okay. So I fix that and then enter a monthly investment. And I guess we'll put like 20. Yearly interest rate in percentages. I don't remember if that was written in a percentage or not. No, it wasn't. Okay. So let's go back here. No. Go in the shell. 18. Enter number of years. Let's say 3 years. Now I have another error. Errors year. Okay, so then we just put S here. And F5. Okay, so let's try again. Continue, yes. Oh, I fixed it. Nice. Or N if you want to exit the program, then close the idle window for the source code. Let's say N. Oh no, I had already done whatever. And then close this one. Open future value GUI file. I don't see a GUI here.
Go back.
Okay.
Where it says to go, it says
Python exercises, chapter 1. They wanted me to run the GUI version.
page is that?
25.
So what you're gonna do, go back to idle.
Okay.
What you're gonna do is go back. No. File open. You're gonna go to the Python. Go to the document.
Python. Okay.
Book tabs.
Chapter 1. Oh, okay. Alright, then run that one. Oh, okay. What's different? It's 45.
Same thing.
Yeah, I know. I guess I know it's supposed to pop up, but I wasn't expecting that. I don't know why. Say 2 years. Calculate. Ah, nice. Run the guess number program of chapter 4. Okay. By the time I complete chapter 4, okay. So I guess I can close this guy, go back here, and then open doc, Python, book apps, chapter 4, Guess the number. Thinking of a number from 1 to 10. Too low. Ah, cool. Let me see what that code looks like. So limit is 10. Import is random. Guess the number is the print. Play game. 1 limit. If guess number is too low, count plus equals 1. I'm not 100% on the meaning yet, but this looks interesting.
Yo,
Yeah.
you keep going since you at the end of the chapter. You keep going. I'm asleep because I'm sleeping.
Alright. Good night, Craig.
I know you're like a night owl, so you're good. I mean, I'm a night owl, so I'm tired.
Yeah, go to
But
sleep.
I'm glad you got through the first chapter.
Oh yeah. This
But
was fun.
now you kind of get to see,
This
yeah,
was
you
fun.
get to see. You think you feel like you'd be able to do this by yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And then just looking at that new file, like with the limited knowledge I have, it's interesting to see what I can and can't recognize and what I think things will be.
Right. So yeah, as you go through, tomorrow, in your own time, you can go through chapter 2 and follow that. Chapter 2 is really good. Book is I chose reason mine because it's fairly very beginner friendly. I've quickly become a fan of this person's Murex, his books, even his C++ book is. So yeah, I definitely mess around, keep playing with it. That's how you get good. And if you do it every day, then you should be able to do amazing things very soon. But yeah, we hop off this. I'll just see you tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir. Oh, I messed up. I didn't hold shift. Alright, so this exercise guides the process of using idle to test and debug a program that has one syntax error and one runtime error. This walks you through the procedure that shows in figure 1.9. Start idle, run, feature value errors. Python exercises chapter 1. Oh, I already did this. Okay. This begins chapter 2. Okay, so I guess we'll stop the stream here for now. If anybody is here and watching, thanks for participating and or watching in my exploration to learn Python. We will also be learning Network Plus because I'm studying to get the Network Plus and then studying to just kind of learn Python in general. Don't know what I'll use it for yet. I just want to learn the language first. And I'll be uploading everything here to YouTube, and I will also be making highlights for everything here on Twitch as well. So I hope you all have a good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.